As I record this, today is the 31st of March. Now, as you may know, tomorrow is the start of April, and obviously the start of April comes with April Fool's Day. Now, I, in particular, do not care about April Fool's Day. It's just a day of misinformation and knowing where to look. And quite frankly, I have a lot of distrust in media anyway, so April Fool's Day, it just heightens my proactiveness in actually consuming anything media related. However, in terms of Tower Defense Simulator, there is actually normally an update on April Fool's Day. I say normally. In the past 4 or 5 years that Tower Defense Simulator has been active, there has been an April Fool's update. We have recently updated the pages on the wiki to include all of the April Fool's jokes, and it's gone from 2020 all the way to 2024, meaning that there's been 5 editions of the April Fool's event. Now, last year's April Fool's event was so significant, it was considered an event by most people, so that we've actually considered it an event on the wiki. Now, we answer the question, what are the chances that there's going to be an event this year? Well, given the fact, based on previous history, that there's always been an event on April 1st, we can assume with somewhat likelihood, about 70%, I'd say, 70-30, that there will be an event this year. Well, at least an April Fool's update. I don't know if it will be significant enough to be considered an event. Now, the thing with April Fool's events is that none of the events, I say events, I mean updates, April Fool's updates or April Fool's editions, none of them have been the same from the very start, 2020, all the way to 2024. So in 2020, the joke here was that they replaced all of the faces in Tower Defense Simulator on Towers' faces with Cyborg, Evil Smirk, Weird, and LOL. You can see them better on a white background. Obviously, I don't have a white background here, but you can see here, yep, that's the face for that. Then you got LOL face, looks like that. Then you got Evil Smirk, which looks like that. And then you got Cyborg, which looks like this. Now, as you can see here, it was applied to all towers, and in fact, all of the towers, they had their own unique faces, which didn't change between games. So, for example, the default Scout had the Cyborg face, and had the Cyborg face for all games. Now, even to this day, we don't actually know the existence of the faces for, say, the Green, Blue, Survivor, or Black Ops Scout, because no one actually recorded it at the time. Yeah, based in 2020, Tower Defense Simulator was not as popular as it is right now, 2024, which may surprise some people, because some people think that 2020 was the peak of Tower Defense Simulator. It could never be as popular as it was in 2020. I hate to break it to you, right now is its most popular time. This extends even to the turret, the XR500 turret, which has a cyborg face, even though the turret itself, its other 2 skins at the time, didn't have a face. And obviously, the towers without a face include the farm, Ace Pilot, Sentry, and Military Base. Obviously, they didn't get any of the funny faces. But back when record keeping of this stuff was kind of non-existent, the paintballer also had faces. Unfortunately, they were all concealed, so we didn't actually know what they looked like. Moving on to 2021, the joke here was that on the first wave on Faller mode, there was an imposter that spawns. Now, this could actually be duplicated on 2-lane paths, or 2-lane maps, because back then, all enemies would be duplicated on 2-path maps, and there wasn't a specific modifier that allowed you to do this. Additionally, the commander dialogue was changed so that the imposter spawned. So it says, hello, is this Among Us? Imposter, bleh, I can't be bothered to actually read that. And they changed the thumbnail to look like this. A Fallen King imposter version and a HD VFX version of the Fallen King. I believe this was the case because Among Us at the time was actually very popular in 2021. Okay, yes, it was. Meanwhile, Funny Faces 2020, it wasn't actually hopping onto any trend or whatever. And this wasn't the only joke. They changed the icon of the game to Welcome to Tower Defense Simulator, a parody of Welcome to Bloxburg. So technically, you can consider this the first ever crossover event or update. Probably not, given the fact that it was only the title on the thumbnail, but fair enough. Meanwhile, in 2022, which was the largest edition of April Fool's up until this point, they changed the faces to be that of the man face or the woman face, in a reference to 2020, given the fact that you got randomized face. Well, you didn't get randomized faces. You got a select choice of towers with the faces that they got. Meanwhile, here it's only 2 faces, and it always randomizes between every game. Furthermore, this was the units and the enemies, not just the towers. Furthermore, the animations of towers, units, and enemies and emotes were changed to be any random animation in the game. However, if they used an R15 animation from an emote, it would actually break because it wouldn't work properly. However, some enemies did use R15, so they actually did work. Furthermore, the audio of towers, units, and enemies would change to any random audio in the game, which includes any exclusive audio that wasn't heard before. So this is how we got leaks for the Arsenal sound effects, the Arsenal skin for the Militant, and John's Enraging Shout audio, which is still in the game. Meanwhile, the commander was actually changed to speak in furry, yeah. Helping with the stereotype that developers are furries, but they've changed some of the commanders to look like furries, but then they also changed some of the commanders to look like this, and this, and this. And obviously they speak in furry. Give it your best. I can't even speak in furry. Furthermore, the game titles were changed to New Tower Defense Game, Tower Early Simulator, Tower Very Early Simulator, Tower Early Simulator. Now this is a reference into the fact that this update was released on the 31st of March 2022, where this was like the height of people saying Tower Delay Simulator because updates were getting delayed by like, I don't know, a month or so, or even a week, and people would just say that because whatever. The previous updates, they always release on the 1st of April, whereas this one was released on the 31st of March. So maybe we could expect an update to be released today, but I doubt it. This was only a joke in reference to the fact that the game was being hammered by people who saying that the updates were always delayed. Meanwhile, we move on to 2023, and 2023 was perhaps the worst edition. All it changed was the fact that all of the commander dialogue was put through a filter, translated into another language, and then translated back into English. Apparently, this was inspired by the internet meme of repeatedly machine learning translating text through multiple languages. I really doubt it. I just think the developers couldn't be asked to do anything, so they added a modifier which did this. Meanwhile, as for 2022, I don't really know what the joke was referencing here, given the fact there was multiple. Obviously, there's the Tower Early Simulator stuff, because it was released on the 31st of March 2022, but then you could also do this as a meme, as in the pointing wajak, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. I don't even know how to pronounce it. How is it pronounced? Two Soyaks pointing meme. What? Oh, this. Okay, fair enough. I don't know. Then 2024, the largest April Fool's edition, because it added new skins, it added a new map. It added a whole bunch of new enemies, which are still in the game if you do it through sandbox mode, but you need the admin mode Game Pass. Now, originally, there were meant to be 2 skins that were meant to be part of the event, but they weren't, because they were later made permanent. The TV Electroshock and the Speaker Titan Accelerator, which you can still get to this day. But obviously, the biggest thing is that it's a Skibbity event. Yeah, you got Headache Headquarters here, where everything becomes Skibbity. Now, the chances of this happening again, like I said, it's unlikely. They don't repeat events, basically. However, this was the longest lasting April Fool's edition, going from the 1st of April to the 8th of April. Now, I'm not sure how likely it is that they're going to keep the April Fool's edition for that long, given the fact that they seem to be proactively gaining likes purely because of this. Yeah, they are interested in keeping their likes high. Now, do bear in mind that all the April Fool's editions in Tower Defense Simulator, they've always got a negative reputation, or a reputation where the like to dislike ratio has decreased. This always happens, even in like the biggest event, which is actually unobjectively a good event, like the April Fool's event. They've always gotten a negative reception purely because, I don't know, people don't like it. Now, what memes could they reference in this 2025 edition? I don't know, because a lot of the memes that I can think of are, I don't know if they're age appropriate. You know, the girl that spits, I don't know if that's age appropriate for this event. Obviously, IShowSpeed is still relevant, given the fact that he scored a penalty in the Sidemen charity match. And then XQC having wrists made of butternut squash? I don't know. However, I doubt the developers are going to reference football, given the fact that the only reference to football that they've ever made is to IShowSpeed with a Ronaldo top. Furthermore, I am assuming that they're going to release on the 1st of April, not the 31st of March, as they did that one year in 2022. How long it lasts? I don't know. 2024 was actually an anomaly, given the fact that the other events have normally lasted only 1 or 2 days. Now, I'm going to jump to a conclusion that this edition this year is going to be very small, given the fact that we've not received any leaks or whatever for April Fool's. The developers, they've kind of hinted at April Fool's event, but we don't know that. After all, it is mere speculation if it's going to come or not. Now, based on that, I can only assume that it's going to be a small update. However, they didn't give any indication of 2024, and that turned out to be the largest April Fool's edition, so much so that it's now considered an event. So it could be the case where the developers are just cooking something in the background very privately before anything's actually released on the 1st of April. Now, would it be considered an event this year? I genuinely don't know, given the fact that they've moved to Wednesday updates, and tomorrow is going to be a Tuesday. April Fool's will land on a Tuesday. I don't know, because also they said they weren't going to do weekly updates. They're moving to bi-weekly updates. And given the fact that the last update was last week, I don't know if they're going to do an update this week. Hence why I think if there is going to be an update for April Fool's, which I said is likely, it's going to be a small update. Like, they're going to introduce a modifier like 2023, which makes small changes, nonsensical changes. However, here's waiting that they actually make an event skin for the event, and they add like an April Fool's events crate that's like something called the corrupted crate, and it glitches out and everything, which will be very cool, but I really doubt it. Who knows? Maybe the April Fool's is actually re-adding the Love Struck crate and then being able to be purchased in the store, because that is still broken, developers. Like, can we fix that ASAP? But I doubt that Skibbity will actually return. The toilet boss, I think, is going to remain in 2024. It won't be in 2025, even though I think the meme is still relevant. relevant. I don't know why the meme's still relevant, given the fact that it is literally the worst ever meme that I've ever heard of. But given the fact that developers aren't insensitive to introducing kids memes to Tower Defense Simulator, who knows? I don't know what the relevant memes are. I don't really care. I have more interesting things to do than learning the current memes of today's youth, like murdering trees, for example. That's what I do. But if you have any ideas on what memes are going to be, I guess you can leave a comment. I probably won't read it. Shane probably would. I don't know. Maybe a solo clips April Fool's thing coming back. Who knows?